I was born in Pennsylvania. Never been to Pittsburgh, though, I don't think. And he then became a game distributor, as many people, many operators did back in the 30s, in order to get games sooner and at a better price than their competitors, operators had them. And he really concentrated on distributing. In 1947, as a 35-year-old punk kid, and at 73, I can say my father was at 35 a punk kid, he went to Chicago to see Harry Williams, you see a supplier, and he put his feet up on Harry's desk, kidding around, sitting behind it, and said to Harry, "Why don't you sell me the company?" And Harry went up in his airplane, flew around Chicago for 3 hours, came down and sold my father half of Williams. So we have been around pinball manufacture since I was 2. Having said that, it was significantly different business then than it is now. And you'll note here that I say this is not my father's pinball company. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what it was, what it's become. And when I say not my father's pinball company, he was Williams. We later, many of you know, had Stern Electronics, which was basically me. He was retired, and we started that. We had left Williams, and we started that in 76. We left Williams, started that in 76, but he was retired, and my sister-in-law had said to me, "He's cleaned my closets twice this week, you gotta find him a job." So we bought the assets of Chicago Coin. Not my father's pinball company. What we do today is significantly different than he did then. And the couple pictures here to show you what it was like back in the day. This would be from the 40s. The guy leaning over with the bald head is Harry Williams. Sitting at the table with a bow tie is Harry Williams and his one of his wives and daughters. Harry was married 3 times. Wanda was his last wife. His first 2 wives he was always attached to, always involved with. And they both died, unfortunately, on the same day. I don't mean the same day, on the same day. Harry, you know, he was a real Damon Runyon character. He lived in had a lot going on. I want you to see the 2 guys. That's Harry, and I think that's a guy named Max, who was a sales guy. You'll see him in other places. Their clothes from the 40s, look at their shoes. They're fantastic. There's the style of the day. These guys were very, and Harry was a big dancer, out all the time. So any event, and that's Harry's airplane, Harry going up in his plane. He had a Bonanza, that was his boat, the special made boat. He lived partly in California, partly in Chicago. And he was like the second father to me. I was around these guys all the time. Sam, Harry, and a lot of the other people. The little dining area there, I don't know why we have it, but you'll notice there's stars on the floor. That was the dining area in the factory. That was called the Starlight Room because it had stars. And also the light fixtures were stars too. Here again is Harry and the sales guy. A picture of a tall pinball machine or a very tall lady, I'm not sure which, or both of the above. And the picture on the right is of the old Chicago Coin Company, or Stern Electronics, that pinball company. It's Sam on my left and Harry on the right. Sam's the one with the glasses, that'd be my father. Harry and Sam working on something together, noodling something out. And this is pictures of me and Sam and Harry, and the young guy there, believe it or not, is me. The young guy in the middle picture, and my father. I was very young. I guess I was in my 20s, and this again would have been at the Chicago Coin Factory, therefore Stern Electronics. The picture of Harry, I don't know where it was. The picture of me must be fairly recent in the black shirt, because that's a fairly recent shirt. So, any event, just pictures through the years that they made fools of me with and things like that. and various of the games, and I don't know why we put that in there, but I didn't put this together, so we're just going to go on. I'm going to tell you about 3 different factories. The picture that I don't have here is the first Williams factory when Sam bought in 1947, and it was on Huron Street in Chicago. It was 6 floors. The first floor was jacks, jacking up the second floor. And production was on the second floor. The third floor was jacks, jacking up the 4th floor where there was production. And the 5th floor was jacks holding up the 6th floor. So I'm sure at that point my father was wondering why he got involved in this thing, because it had this building. But they ultimately moved to 4242 West Fillmore. The 2 bottom pictures are current pictures of 4242 West Fillmore, not far from the Link Smith factory in Cicero, which is now where Chicago Gaming is located, because Link Smith used to make the cabinets for everybody. Woody Smith was the guy who ran it, but it wasn't, his name was Woodrow, and he was, the son-in-law, actually, I don't know. So Link Smith, he wasn't called Woody because of the cabinets. His name was Woodrow, just was coincidental. In fact, he used to call, these companies used to have lunch rooms for the office workers in it, and he would call Bally and he would call Williams every day to see who had what for lunch and decide where he was going, Bally or Williams for lunch. The factory was on, as I said, 4242 West Fillmore, and that's where I started working in pinball when I was 16. I was around a lot of people, customers, distributors. I visited distributors with my father, much younger than 16, but 16 in the summer. That's, hey, Keith, congratulations. Did you see the fireworks they had for you? You missed it? Finally, we got a ringer that won something. That's why you guys were hired. And so you finally won. Congratulations. I appreciate you're winning for us. We figure it's part of our team, and we don't have a basketball team. We have a pinball team. Any event, that was in a residential neighborhood, in a factory neighborhood that had apartments, but it was a little bit rough, not like today. Today it's blighted. It's a totally blighted neighborhood. It was a little rough. The Fillmore Street Police Station was down the street from it, and they used to get the batteries stolen out of the cars. There was a big, out of the police cars, there was a jewelry store robbery on Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago. The getaway car came off our parking lot. So things happen. I started working there when I was 16 in the stockroom, and the importance of that is that we love pinball machines. We make pinball machines, but we are a business, and if we don't treat it like a business, then we won't make another pinball machine. If we don't make money on this pinball machine, we won't have the money to design and make the next pinball machine. We've got millions and millions of dollars of inventory in the place. And so in that respect, it is similar to what my father was doing. That may be one of the only things that's really the same, is that we are first and foremost manufacturers, American manufacturers. We're very proud to be American manufacturers. That's going to sink them in. We'll take it out in a minute. So any event, that building was probably about 80,000 square foot, maybe a little bit more. We're in 110,000 right now. The building with the Stern sign outside and the for sale sign, that's where we were for many years in Melrose Park, where the current company was for many years. And 3 years ago, we moved into 110,000 square foot in Elk Grove Village. We were south of the airport, now we're west of the airport. This is what the factory looked like back in the day, 4242 West Fillmore. You can see assembly lines that are, I'm laughing at the lower picture. That's the plating department now that I see it. We were very vertically integrated, all of the pinball companies, Bally, Chicago Coin, Gottlieb, old Williams. We were very vertically integrated back in those days. That's a plating department. We used to do our own plating. We made our own transformers. We wound all our own coils, made our own switches. We were very, punch presses, the whole thing. We were very integrated. And that plating department, when I was 17, I was, this is a digression, but everything's a digression that I'm talking about. When I was 17, I was in the, that summer, I was a temporary personnel manager, and we had hired, we probably had, I don't know how many people we had in those days. At the old Stern Electronics, we had about 800 union workers. At Williams, when we were on California Avenue, we had about 1,100 union workers. And in fact, we had I used to do the union negotiations, and in fact, we had a lockout. I had a lockout. I locked them out once. That was fun. No, it wasn't. It was very tense on both sides. And at the current factory, which we'll come back to in a minute, we have, and in any day we probably have 300 people in the building. So we're not fully integrated, but we still, we're very proud to be American manufacturers. As I said, we employ a lot of people. And we employ, as I said, 300, but another probably 3,000 people in the extended supplier community. That plating room, so I'm the personnel manager, and there was a guy that just wasn't working out. I'm a 17-year-old kid. They send in, I'm just gonna pull this sucker out. They send in this guy, this one employee who just wasn't making it, and he had to be let go. And they send him in to see me, and I'm sitting there talking to him. I got the paperwork out, and finally I realized, nobody said anything to you, did they? At 17, I had to fire my first employee, and I've never gotten over that, but it's one of the things, part of, you have people either can get trained or they can't be trained, and they can't end up doing it. Hi. 2020 Janus. We were at 2020 Janus for many years. Actually, we started out at 1990 Janus. Well, we started out over in temporary building with just some offices, but then 1990 Janus, and then we were in two buildings, 1990 Janus and 4545 James, which is just up the street. Then we consolidated into 2020 Janus, which is 40,000 square feet. We're in 110,000 now. This is a factory. Some of y'all have probably toured this old factory. We love that people come by. Now we're 2001 lump. That's 110,000 square feet, 2.5 times the size of our last building. Most important, what it has, this biggest asset, is 300 parking spots. That's what the guys are looking for, 300 parking spots, so that we can have a lot of people, and we need a lot of people for what we're doing. We're doing it in one shift, and that's how we'll do it for now. The lower picture, that's incoming inspection, and the others are some of the lines, and a picture of me for some reason, I don't know why, out there. I didn't get the name of the artist who did this. You see, this picture it's from a Williams Freshie. You can't see that. No, Freshie is what I had. It's a Williams Oh Boy. How do you know it's an Oh Boy? You see the upside down name, Oh Boy. And why is it that there? Why is that there? There's an artist who some of you know the name of, I should have looked it up again, who did color studies, and he did them painting pinball machines. Pinball machines, as you can see, of the 50s and 60s. And the reason the Oh Boy is there, and if the picture was taken a little bigger, this is on my wall, a print of it, an original, went at Sotheby's for about $100,000 about 10 years ago. The reason the Oh Boy is there is he painted in his color study the reflection on the playfield glass, just like we sometimes have today. Nothing is completely new. So I wanted to throw that in there, see that, he had that. You can see the whole back glass is reflected in there. There's a woman's head the woman on the playfield has a head in her armpit, if you see that, and that's off the back glass. I threw in a couple old games from Williams and old Stern and Date East and what have you, just to be representative of why we are not my father's pinball company. The games are a lot different, and this was a bowling themed game, as you note, with 10 rollovers for the bowling pins, and just bowling theme. Is an old Williams for 1970. That I didn't pick the games for any particular reason. Actually, I didn't pick most of them. Somebody else did. But you get an idea of what a game was then. A lot of wire, a lot of step-up units, and relays in a pinball machine, like an old telephone system. Instead of solid state, step-up units and relays, and what was called pushback wire. It was cloth-covered pushback wire. You didn't have to strip it. You pushed it back because it wasn't, electronics like we use today. And most of you people who deal with any of these know that. Space Mission, I don't know, we threw that one in. It was Kordak. There were two main designers at Williams, Kordak and Steve Kordak and Norm Clark. Norm later went to Bally, and Steve was very docile, and as you probably know, lived to well over 100. Designed games for a long time. Norm Clark was the only person who I ever heard yell back at my father. They fought sometimes that he wasn't quite as docile, but they were the two designers. This was Kordak's game, and it's a 4-player. We made games in those days, electromechanical. We would make maybe 9 different games a year, but it's really not quite 9, or maybe more. We would make a single player, which was a totally different game, and we'll make that as a regular pinball and probably as an add-a-ball, because some areas didn't allow free play, like Wisconsin back in the day, as best as I can remember. We made a 4-player game, and here's Space Mission. We also made that as Space Odyssey, I think it was called, and that was a 2-player version. Oh, I must be right, because see, I'm not a historian. Some of these guys know a lot more than I do about it, because, I make and sell pinball machines, and I may love them, but I don't love them like some of you guys do. So, any event, we made we're running a business, and we got 300 people to feed every day, and another 3,000, as they say. So all that's important to us, that we, that we understand that we take this seriously. It's very, if we don't take it seriously, then you won't have a hobby, because if we don't keep doing this, we go away. So in any event, we made quite a few different games in the day, but they were similar and much simpler. A little bit more Space Mission, which again, Space Odyssey, same game. I remember this game, I really do. That's different. Pinball by Stern was the first Stern Electronics game, and the artwork came from a calendar. Chicago Coin, whose assets we had bought out of bank foreclosure. I was a bankruptcy lawyer when I tried to go straight for a little while. I was a bankruptcy lawyer, and I practiced law from 71 to 73. I'll back up 1 second. My undergraduate degree is in accounting. I have a BBA in accounting, and my graduate degree is a JD, Juris Doctor. The accounting is the language of business. It's all math in a sense. That's the most important thing, to make sure that the numbers work, that you make some money, or you're not going to design another pinball machine. That's the way it works. Well, Chicago Coin had a calendar. I liked the artwork, so that was our first back glass. That's just the art right off the calendar. We probably ripped it. We probably should have paid somebody for that, but it's too late now. Memory Lane, a bowling themed game. Oh, wait, can I make this happen? Bowling themed game. Sort of similar, isn't it? Now, Joe Robbins, who was a director of Bally, also our distributor for Atlas, Bally Distributing was originally Atlas. No, it was originally Gil Kidd's company, Empire Distributing. Phew, it was Empire Distributing. So he said, you shouldn't call it memory lane, you should call it mammary lane. Remember, we were TNA at the time. Well, okay, there was a lot of TNA, but a month later, Bally came out with their version of Mammary Lane, which was basically the same game, except they used star rollovers and we used the rollover buttons for the pins. But I called him up and I said, "You're talking about my back glass? You know, look at yours." But all that has changed. We can't do that. With George Petro, who runs Play Mechanics, he complained to me once. I said, "No, there's no more TNA in pinball. It just, you know, we don't have TNA anymore very much." Well, we don't. We did make Whoa Nelly, but that was about fruit. Okay. It was watermelons. It was about fruit, guys, ladies and gentlemen. It was about fruit. Meteor, Stars, and 9-Ball. These were great. These were all done by Steve Kirk, who was unrewarded talent, probably because of his own. It's his own fault. Meteor was a license, by the way. That was a movie, which nobody saw, but it was a license. Stars was, you know, that Stars is an old wood frame that I made out of a quarter round or whatever you want to call it myself. It wasn't a real frame, but that's hanging in one of our offices. And 9-Ball, Steve made. It never really worked quite 100% right. And Steve made it to show us that our logic system was brain dead, as he said. Now, you know, Steve was a little abrasive. He wasn't very. He didn't finesse things, and I mean, but I did a lot of work with him over a couple of periods of time. It was hard to do, but it's a shame. He was. And by the way, Steve Kirk, I'm told Kirk wasn't his name, but he picked up the name Kirk from Captain Kirk, but I don't know that as a fact. He did have, one time I had to get him, he was living in his car, and I said, "Well, I'll get you a motel room." He said, "I can't go in a motel, I got cats." I said, "Okay, so we'll get a motel that takes cats. How many cats do you have?" "You don't want to know." "How many cats do you have?" "I have double-digit cats." So he's living in a car with double-digit cats, designing games for us. So it's, yeah, different world. But his stuff was great. And now, people ask me what my favorite old game was. And they asked me what my favorite game is. And right now, clearly, my favorite game is Iron Maiden. And it's a great game. And Keith is Goner here. He did a great job. It's also a great title, and a great theme, and great music. Our customer in Norway, Ulla Ali, he said to me a number of years ago. He said that his 55-year-olds wanted Rolling Stones, but his 35-year-olds wanted AC/DC, Metallica, Kiss, Iron Maiden. We're out of titles for him. I mean, we've done everything that he suggested. He hasn't missed on any of them. Flight 2000 I thought was a great game, except it was a wide body. And the problem with a wide body is, A, it's costly to make a wide body. B, as Harry explained, when I say costly, there's more parts. You're using things you don't normally use. You got to buy special wood. We used to cut two front moldings in half and put them together because we didn't have a wide body front molding. Yeah, everything was more expensive. The other problem is you got to put more parts on it because the ball slows up going left to right, as Harry explained to me. It's got too far to go, so the game doesn't really play as well. We had, and the third thing I can tell you about it is Neil Falconer was a programmer for us, a sound and programmer guy for Bally, and every time people started making wide bodies, he knew the business was going in the crapper, because that was just a move of desperation. So therefore he cleaned up his resume and started sending it out. And pretty much true, whenever we started making wide bodies, the business usually sunk. There are some exceptions to that, we all know, but it's pretty much both the math and the market is telling you something. Having said that, Steve Kirk and I made a conversion game called Gamatron, and it was a narrow body version of Flight 2000, which instead of having a, you know what, I can do this way. I should have thought of this before. Instead of having a ball walker, has ejects, and we used that. Joe Juice, who had been a mechanical designer for us, and then for Williams, he was the greatest. He did this stuff for us, and we made it a one pop bumper instead of two, narrow body. This happens to be, I must have sold some kits to Sagasa in Spain, because this is in a Sagasa cabinet. I must have sold them kits that they use there. We call our company Pinstar. I proved, by the way, in doing this, that conversions don't work. You shouldn't do conversion kits. The economics don't work. We came out with that at the same time as Steve had designed High Speed. Now, instead of taking an old Bally game and converting it to our game, putting the money into it and then having something without much of a resale value, you would have been better off trading in as an operator your Bally game and buying one of Steve's games, a High Speed. It just didn't work. Conversion in pinball didn't work. Williams didn't listen to the lesson, and they thought that P2K would be a conversion platform. It wasn't. It made no economic sense. You'd be better off taking your P2K and trading it in, for another pinball machine, P2K or what have you. But any event, that's another Steve Kirk and me working at it. Viper, the only reason I have this in here is not because it's a game to speak about. It's just more TNA to show we don't have that anymore. That's all. That's all. It's changed because a big part because of you guys. You guys are taking these games home. We used to be in bars. We still are in bars. We're in bars again. But even in the bars, when we made Playboy a number of times, and the last time we made Playboy, it was not Bally, when they made Playboy, it was successful, and they got it done after Tommy Neiman figured out, he was the marketing guy at Bally, to put Hefner in the middle of the back glass, and all of a sudden the art got approved. So we knew to do that, so we put Hefner in the middle of our back glass, and it was a photographic one. The game was great. Our next one, which George designed, didn't work out so well in America. It went well in Europe, but you couldn't do Playboy in America because the mentality, we would become more prudish, and also the mentality is such, the women objected to Playboy. It wasn't what it once was. Bartenders were getting complaints and so forth, and so it just didn't go there. Anyway, that was just there for that purpose. Our first game at Data East, and the company is 32 years old. We were Data East, and then Pinball, then Sega Pinball, and then Stern Pinball. Same company, we just changed the name. Different owner, we changed the name to protect the innocent. First game was Laser War, which I have one in my office, and it was easy to understand. It was, I don't have a good playfield shot. It was 3 ejects, color coded. You can't tell that from this. And you just collected the 3 lights in front of the 3 inserts and ejects, and you went in there. And it was easy to learn, hard to master, because there was more to it than that. So, and that's what pinball, that's what we see in the barcades. These 80 video games that you see here and you see in the barcades are easy to learn, hard to master. Back to the Future is here because of the picture of Joe Kamikoff and the picture of me. And the DeLorean, Joe went out and bought a DeLorean So we just threw this one in just to show where were we going. More Back to the Future. Lethal Weapon. I put this one in to tell you two stories. First story is that I'm explaining to our French customer, which is still our French customer, Orange, that we're making Lethal Weapon 3. I'm explaining this for 45 minutes and just not getting across to them what it is. And finally I said, you know, Lethal Weapon 3, Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. They say, oh, l'arme fatale trois. You know, in French, it's Lethal Weapon, l'arme fatale 3, trois. So finally they got what it was. You know, it's different names, but once you show the picture, it's fine. We do all the speech in pinball, and in half the market, nobody understands what the game's saying because they don't speak English. All right, they speak more and more English, but in a pinball context of while you're playing, they don't necessarily get what it's saying. And Joe said to me once, well, we're doing Star Trek, they'll recognize the voice. Beam me up, Scotty, they'll recognize the voice. And I said, it's a different actor that's doing the voice in French than does it in English. They won't recognize the voice. But it's important for much of the market, it's important for here that we do that. The other thing about this game, I don't know how bright you guys can see it there, but in this case you go up what was called a simulated ramp, and the ball shoots there's an eject there that shoots the ball back into the pop bumpers. Originally it came down right back at you, and that my one contribution to pinball might be the fight that Joe and I had where I made him turn the eject and shoot the ball back into the pop bumpers. That's my one design contribution. Well, I have another one, but I want Batman. Well, we've done a lot of Batman, as you know. We've always liked Batman. So I'm just going to show you a couple Batman. We got 3 different Batman here, don't we? We did it 3 times. Striker Extreme, yes, okay, sports games. We've wanted to have a sports theme game and never found a sports theme. Striker Extreme, you know, my partner Dave Peterson thinks that one day soccer is going to be big here in America. Yeah, but I'll be long retired when that happens. Yes, we all watched, many of us watched the World Cup. The last time that I remember the World Cup, we had some games in Chicago. They had it in the U.S. and nobody went. There was no traffic, no nothing. So part of it is that there's not a sport. Baseball doesn't work. Our American football doesn't work. We tried NASCAR, and we had to make a separate artwork for Europe. NASCAR doesn't work in Europe. We had to do Grand Prix. We've done basketball. I thought basketball would work after the '92 Olympics in Barcelona, and the Dream Team, and now we're going to come out of Croatia and out of Yugoslavia and Italy and go across Europe, and we didn't. The problem is with any sports game is that people want their team, not the sport. We made this game into football and sold it customized for everybody's teams and sold different back glasses. And unfortunately, the technology wasn't such that we could do very good work with the back glass. Today, we'd be able to do a much better job with it. And, you know, part of our business today is private label. You know about Supreme, you know about the PBR game. The technology of printing and so forth lets us do that. So we couldn't be successful in soccer because it's not a worldwide sport, and we couldn't be successful because we didn't have individual teams. We did individual teams for football, but we didn't for NBA, and NBA suffered the same problem. And, you know, I'm in Chicago, I want the Bulls. You know, I don't want NBA. So it didn't, you know, it suffered the same problem. All the basketball games suffer the same problem. There isn't a sport. I throw Simpsons up, because we were the second licensee that Simpsons had, and we made it twice. Simpsons and Simpsons Pinball Party. Okay? Iron Man was some. I have Iron Man because we keep making the mistake and call Iron Maiden Iron Man. All over the place, all over in the office. Those of us who've been around long enough at the company, we keep saying Iron Man instead of Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden's a great game. Iron Man was a great game. It was a great earning game. No, I'm not going to tell the Eugene story. I'll tell you some of you privately that's a different story. I can't do that. not if you're recording this. I can't do that. He knows.
We're live.
We're live? No. Okay, we're not doing that story at all. Any event, but one of my contributions in this game, I did have a contribution. Now this was at the bottom of the Lehman Brothers recession, and we had just done Buck Hunter. The reason we did Buck Hunter, we tried to do three things and succeeded in one of the three things. We wanted video operators to try pinball, because they were operating Buck Hunters. We wanted to get on George Petro's server so we could connect our games online. We weren't ready, he wasn't ready. And we wanted Eugene Jarvis, who I've called God of Design, the guy's incredible, to work with us, and he did. And from what we learned on that game, we made a great pinball machine for the operator called Iron Man. The other thing that we learned, those of you who know the game know that do I have a playfield? That would be nice. That there's a monger in the middle that goes up and down, and that's in here or here, and maybe you can see it there. It was down, and I said, guys, there's nothing on this playfield. Put the monger up. This is where the story comes, and I'm not going to tell, but you got to show somebody something, or else there was no reason to play it. Oh no, it's going to be a big surprise. It says it's going to be a big surprise once, and if they ever get it, they're not going to be surprised again. So it's not such a big surprise. Show them there's something to shoot for. Show them there's something in the game. And then, of course, we come to Iron Maiden, which you all know from here, and I get to rest for a minute. Let's see if this works.
Stern Pinball, and this is my game, Iron Maiden. How you would hear about Keith Elwood if you got into playing pinball, you would hear that, hey, there's this player who's won, 7 world pinball championships, like 4 balls, and the other always is completely in control. Started playing in tournaments when I was around 20 years old. I qualified, I did really well. Been doing tournaments ever since. I've always stuck with it, and I had an opportunity to make it, and I said, yeah. Okay, he's done everything there is to do in competitive pinball, and now he's taking what he knows and he's bringing it to designing pinball machines. This was my first gig. I was hired to do this design, and that's where I was born. Yeah, so I'm a mechanical designer. His name's Harrison. So this was his first professional pinball design.
And as soon as I got in the door, I was, on the ground running, fully confident.
Our software engineer, Rick Nagle, he was brought on to kind of handle programming all the rules that I come up with for this game.
I'm the technical muscle for Keith's pinball knowledge.
Everybody looked up and respected me for some reason because they thought I knew what I was talking about, so it was great.
We're working in the shadows and the giants here at Smyrna, so we really had to make a splash on our first game.
So, rookies.
I didn't know that it was an Iron Maiden game until my first hit. I started listening to them when I was really young, probably younger than I should have been. Sort of theme jackpot is something I'd like to work on.
This is definitely a dream theme. I really like this design. We haven't done a 4-flipper game in probably 15 years. This game brings that back. I think that's going to be a unique draw for the player. With the 4-flippers, the upper 2 flippers allows you to play more of the pinball machine than just the bottom part. I think when you get stuck at the bottom part for too long, the back looks very distant, and then when you have that flipper up there, it feels like, okay, I'm up there, I have the control of the upper part of the playfield. usually the ramps are some of your easiest shots in the game. He put the ramps on the outside of the game and spinners and some links in the middle of the game and make those the big shots and make ramps the tough shots. What it actually winds up building is a more flowing game because the ball is always near a flipper and that flipper can always affect it.
This is the mechanism for the center lift ramp on premium and LED models. So when you collect enough Eddy letters, the ramp will raise to reveal this underworld scoop. The player can then shoot into the scoop, the ramp will close, you'll get your road presentation, and then the ramp will re-raise and fire the ball back at the player.
I would approach Harrison with my napkin scribbling, and then he would ask me for a CAD file. He would turn it into a SolidWorks file, and then we prototype it, it would work, and then we move on to the next device.
One of the big main features that Keith wanted on every model of RheinMain was going to be the bullseye target. The segment is broken up into 3 sections, so you have an outer ring, a middle ring, and then the center bullseye target. So those all independently control a switch on the back, and then our software can determine which one was the highest value that you hit.
The premium offers more kinetic satisfaction because the devices are more interactive.
So Keith's big thing during the development of this game was to make sure that he was kinetically satisfied, and for the longest time I had to figure out that math. Turns out, even if it's a successful hit, it has to feel like you actually hit it. Well, the new ball mechanism tries to bring a captive ball experience without actually having to take up the room of the captive ball. So it's a 360-degree omnidirectional sensing target.
Kinetic satisfaction. Fun to shoot, the rules are good, the sounds are good, the artwork's stunning, so that's going to draw the new players in. Our artist extraordinaire, Zombie Eddie, he's a big Maiden fan, and he was all excited about it. You know, it takes over a year from CAD files to actually get built. The whole time I was just, what's it actually going to be like? This is on the line. I was so busy leading up to that point, I don't think I really had time to just inhale and take it in. The day came up faster than I thought, and it was just kind of a dream. I was just, oh yeah, look, there it is. And it's very cool to walk down the line and see something you built, getting shipped off to Italy, Germany, and all these other places they're going right now.
Not my father's pinball company, but also all the way back here. Not my father's pinball. Things have changed a lot over the years. So, but it's also, as I said, not my father's pinball company. And what does that mean? It means first I got to get back to where I was here. Let's see if I can do this without messing it up. Okay, it means that we're not just making some pinball machines. We're creating everything pinball in order to enlarge the entire pinball universe. We have digital, which is very important, and we will be doing much more with digital. We have Oculus and Twitch, and what have you, Switch, not Twitch. It's very important because we have done what's called crossing the millennial divide. And the digital stuff has helped us do that. Yeah, we're in barcades, which you all know. We're making a major effort into FECs, family entertainment centers. We've crossed the millennial divide. We talk a lot in business about the Harley-Davidson model. We made Harley-Davidson pinball. Harley-Davidson has 3 market segments. They have enthusiasts like you all. They have what we call rec room buyers, a guy who wants a game for his basement, tells mommy it's for the kids, because mommy approves everything coming in. He's not going to have 2 games. He may trade it in. He may get the bug and become an enthusiast, just like I have 3 Harleys now. And we have commercial. They have police, we've got operators. Harley has not crossed the millennial divide. It's for old people like me. Jack, you're an old man and you don't know it. You're an old man in a young man's body. You know, you're weird. You got, how's this? Jack's weird. But he has a Harley. He has, but you know, mostly it has not, actually you're not even, how old are you?
Old enough.
How old are you?
I'm 37.
Yeah, see, I'm talking about young people, okay? My father was 35 when he was younger than you when he bought into Williams. Okay, any event, crossing the millennial divide, it's important. We introduce pinball every way we can to more and more people, to a bigger audience, and that creates more business for us, a continuing hobby for you, because if we don't have games out there on the street, if we don't have millennials playing games, then your games will not be a hobby, they'll be collectibles, and you will say, don't play it, don't touch it, because it's an antique. We're going to keep it alive by making many different games every year and doing many other things. We make 3 Cornerstone games a year in 3 different versions. That's 9 games. You say, oh, they're all the same. No, they're not. There's a lot of difference in each of them, even the premium to the LE. And plus we make a vault or 2, and we make a studio game, what have you. Everything pinball, all the swag, which is merchandise, T-shirts, and we have some new T-shirts coming out. Swag in accounting means, WAG means wild as guess in accounting, and swag means scientific wild as guess. But in rock and roll it means shit we all get. So this is swag, okay? But or merch, and sometimes we have rights. We also have accessories, just like Harley. We let people trick out their games, a ball shooter, a topper, what have you. Everything pinball, so that we can increase the hobby, we can increase the business, and we can increase the attraction to it. And you know, people wearing T-shirts. We are coming up with making a couple changes. You'll see some new T-shirt designs, but also some for women. These are, my daughters say, you know, these are all guide. The only T-shirt they like is the Feel the Stern T-shirt. For those of you who have seen it, and he's nodding because he wears it to work all the time. So any event, that's the one that's a picture of me, and instead of Feel the Burn, it's Feel the Stern. And Marco made that. We didn't even have anything to do with it. They didn't even pay me a royalty. But any event, we need some girls' T-shirts and hats that got the adjustment in the back so you can put the ponytail out of it. I hear this stuff, you know, and I listen to my daughters, because I have to, because I'm not stupid. So we everything pinball. We're adding people. You've seen some of these people here. You've seen some of them in the video. This is just a few of the people that have come along. We've grown quite a bit in the last 2 years in order to do all the things. And to tell you how much we've grown, the number of games we've made. 2017 was 40% more than 2016. 2016 was 40% more than 2015. We thank you all for it, but we also have to thank the other 2 segments, the operator segment and the rec room buyer segment. And there is a lot of growth in both of those areas, which is necessary for you to continue to have a hobby. We do a lot of events to make pinball recognized, for people to know about pinball machines so that they know what we're doing. We go to Comic-Con. We don't sell games at Comic-Con. We go there, we set up at great expense, I must tell you, a hotel. I keep pointing, but you guys can't see what I'm pointing at. So here, we have a game room there. We have games on Star Wars booth. We have games in our own booth, which we share with Nuclear Blast, and a big group of people coming to watch that. Very important to expose pinball to a large audience that could be interested and will be interested. Licensed titles, they're all into these titles. We come to shows like this, a lot of enthusiast shows. We do a lot of work with Marco. They represent us a lot of the time at these shows and help us by having the games, their games there, our games there, not their games, our games there, because we can't be everywhere. And this was a cute little show game thing, so I like the show. The show must go on. The show had to go on twice. We are starting with your hosts and hostesses here. We started the Stern Pro circuit, and we are going to make. Listen, this is an e-sport, and this should be. Watch what went on here. It was exciting. The way that they presented here is exciting, and this, we know that universities have e-sports for teams and scholarships for video. They have people watch fishing on TV. Okay, now this is, unless you're from northern Wisconsin, unless you're from northern Wisconsin, this can't be interesting. But playing pinball and competition is interesting. Look what went on here, and we had to hold my speech up, my presentation, to see. It's clearly, and of course here's this is like, isn't that fantastic? Yeah, and of course Jackson everything. So there we go. So here a little bit about, so you know what we're doing.
Now I'm helping try to promote pinball outside of our niche community to really get it out to the world. Tonight your father's pinball. It's like a whole new generation of players.
I almost brought me a zero. I know now you can sit back, they are borrowed, put on the plan is to challenge some of these people for drinking, for raise, for high five. Stone face. I'm not winning you over. I still play with my friend. Practice one-handed is going to change your life.
People like to see and witness all the skill involved. You look at the technology and live streaming now, people can actually witness what it's all about.
We're keeping it in the family. As we are able to, add more sponsors and funds to it. It's one of the things that has to happen, and then we can make it into a real pro circuit, and then it gets really interesting, and that's what'll happen. Again, that's okay. There's 40 people competing, but it creates listen, how many people play golf on the pro tour? But golf, that increases golf. That increases the interest in it. That increases all of your hobby and our business. That's what we're trying to do. Stern Army, boy, don't they use me in a lot of stupid art? I don't know. We had I am never going away. I want you to know. I got a quotation from a taxidermist. And when I'm done, they're going to have me in the corner of the conference room forever. Those of you who've been to the office and seen the foam core of me, well, forget that. We're going to have me there. For, the innards they can go use for, if anybody needs a piece, but they keep the outwards there and stuff it. I'm going to be there forever. Stern Army, it's a street team. Let's go back again to what Harley is. We all talk about Harley. Harley has a loyalty club called Harley Owners Group. When we made Harley Davidson Pinball, if you called it Pig, you had to put in a quarter. And by the way, if you call Josh, you have to put in $1. He's getting very rich from all this. He's nodding. Yeah, okay.
Diaper money.
Yeah, diaper money. Yeah, he needs diaper money. You ain't gonna get it that way. You better win some tournaments. You're not doing well enough at this stuff, Come on. Okay, so any event, they also have local chapters, and they belong to a dealer. They're attached to a dealer, and they help that dealer with what is, with events the dealer has. They're a street team. John Biscaglia, our CRO, which means Chief Revenue Officer, he's in charge of sales and marketing, VP Sales and Marketing. He was at Topps, the trading card people, and they had street teams to help promote and interest people in what they're doing. And that's what we're doing with the Stern Army. Last count that I had, we have 107 Army members that are assigned, that have picked and are assigned a location to have an event at least once a month in. And this is bringing more people into the sport and into the locations. And what we're doing is it's called putting, I used to own bars, and in the bar business, in my day, it was called putting seats in the stool. Seats being what I'm sitting in, the stool being a bar stool. So we're putting seats in the stool, and it's not just what the games make, but it's the food and beverage. So the Stern Army, they have to have the launch parties there. It's growing. They don't have the video there, so I'm going to go back for a minute. What we're saying to the FECs, what we're saying to the bars and barcades is you have the Army in there, they'll have an event, and putting seats in your stools, we're giving you new people, new money. We don't tell FECs or arcades, as we used to call them, that we're going to we want you to have some pinball to park Dad over there. So he stays there with his kids. That's interesting. They want that to happen. But what we're saying with the FECs, and most of the FECs are more grown up than kids, most of them have liquor licenses, they have food. We are going to put new people with new money. You'll get some game income, but we are going to increase what's more important, your food and beverage. Okay? Nobody back in my day went to a bar to play a pinball machine. They went to talk to a girl and were afraid to, so they played the pinball. They didn't go in with an Atari 2600 or whatever they were called under their arm, so they had to play the pinball. Same thing, same concept. We're ancillary entertainment. Harry Williams, and I tell this story all the time, game called Hot Hand, and there was that big flipper in it, and the ball, it would go around in a circle and knock the ball out of the different cups. And Harry said to me, the kids are going to love this. And I put my arm around Harry, and I said, that's great, Harry, but your job is to get people drunk and keep them drunk. Nothing wrong with a little bit of liquor, That's, let them eat something too. That's what we're doing. So the Stern Army, we're increasing the Stern Army, this was at the event. Yeah, this is the event we just did at Pinstack. It was we call it an invasion, a first event at the location. 107 people, something like that. No, there's 107 Army members. 102 people at that event to get it all started off there. That's what we're doing to increase pinball. We missed the Consumer Electronics Show here, didn't we? How'd that happen? Consumer Electronics Show is real important. We go to the Consumer Electronics Show, and we have that booth that you see here was built for the Consumer Electronics Show, so we can draw real attention to pinball. People go to the Consumer Electronics Show and, you know, they can look at telephone wires, you know, to plug their iPhones in or whatever, or they can play pinball. But more important than that, the night before and the night before, there are press events. A lot of young writers are there, and they're there because people like us pay to go to these events, and that money is used for the organizer to make money and to provide free booze and food for these writers. They come there, they see our product, they come see us. We get things like USA Today saying we're one of the top 5 new products at the show. We get all kinds of podcasts. We get magazines in articles in interviews by and articles in game magazines, so we can get other gamers over. We get all kinds of press, and that's, you know, we have a resurgence in pinball, and God bless everybody. It's great. It's just like back to my motorcycle model. We like in motorcycles to see other people making one-off games or smaller groups making games and what have you. But, you know, the Harley, the Indian, the Honda, you know, they're driving it, and we are driving the publicity and the resurgence to have this happen for your hobby, for your sport, and for our business. That's what we're trying to do. Because what we're doing is we are creating a global lifestyle brand. I'm going to read this once, and then we're all going to read it in unison, see if you can pull it off. Our vision is to create a global lifestyle brand. Okay, start again. A global lifestyle brand built on the iconic and outrageously fun modern American game of pinball that perpetuates pinball and the rapidly growing adrenalized global community of pinball fanatics for generations to come. You think you guys can do this with me? Our vision, create a, come on, it's like rock and roll. You got to do this with me. I want to hear that. Come on, you guys can do this if I can. Create, come on, create, give me create a global lifestyle brand built on the iconic and outrageously fun modern American game of pinball that perpetuates pinball and the rapidly growing and adrenalized global community of pinball fanatics for generations to come. We are, yeah, it's a run-on sentence, and this is what we're going to do, and that's what's going to grow pinball even more than it has. And we're going to push this further and further. And in doing that, I'm going to do something I never do. I'm going to tell you something about our games of the future. In fact, I'm going to show you the titles of the future. There you go. That's for John Pascalian. If you got any questions, I'll try to answer them, or maybe some of these other guys here can do a better job of it than I can. Any questions? Yes, sir.
My favorite game that you guys made of all time is Phantom of the Opera. I think it's the most beautiful artwork you've ever done. I spent 5 years with $8,000 tracking down all the old stock parts to build one that came out of the box. Was that going to be based on the musical and you couldn't get the rights, or was it?
No, it's PD. It's PD. And but having said that, Joe Kamenkow, who you all know was my associate head of design at the time, he is a big Broadway fan. So forth, and so that's what brought him to it. But no, you notice the mask is a different direction and all that. It's PD. It's totally PD, and it's one of the few licensed, unlicensed. Star Wars isn't licensed. We didn't get. Star Trek. Excuse me, Laser Wars not licensed, but it was supposed to be licensed. It didn't work out. Almost everything we have done and will do is licensed. That one, it's just PD. I think. What was the other one? Dracula, or Frankenstein? Dracula is not like is PD. Public domain is PD. So occasionally you pull a PD down and do that.
I have a question about that very machine.
Yes.
Because I have it.
Good. I'm glad you have it. Talk louder. Come here. Here. You know what? You need to. Somebody want to take. Is this one on? Here. Take this one. And if you take it. down there, I'd appreciate it, and let everybody else have it. And I'll take this other one. What's your question? First of all, what's your name?
Leslie.
Leslie. Leslie. Broke it. Yeah, well, I can't afford these things. Okay, Leslie, I got it. We're good. Okay. Okay. Yeah, better if we have a mic. Leslie, okay, let Leslie ask it. Jack, hold the mic for it. There we go. Leslie, let's see if I can answer it or not.
Since it is a public domain licensure on that, is that why there are hardly any, well, there's no revisions ever?
Revisions of the code, the game. You know, there won't be. First of all, it's an older. That's not the reason. It's an older game. We don't revise all code. There are some codes, you know, that we revise because we don't think that they're complete as we'd like them. There's some codes we revise for software problems, bugs come up. And then when a game is done, it's done. At some point you have to go on to the next game. It's just like my Harley has not been revised. My oldest Harley is a '93. They ain't doing anything to revise it. They're going on to make new Harleys. It's a business, and you have to say, how much are my people going to work on it, and when is it time to move on to something else? We have actually, sometimes we do revise something because the designer at home or the software guy at home says, I want to play with this, something I want to try in it, I want to do to it. But usually we come to a point when it's done and it's time to enjoy the game. Now, I can't remember the game, somebody said to me once, you know, it was one of the fairly new game, and they got all the way through it, they'd done this, they were sort of done with it, and say, well, why don't you do new code? And my answer is, you know, the game is complete. And you really, if you're not enjoying it anymore, this is normal, trade it. Get yourself something else and start on a new game. So, you know, that's the...
I actually wasn't asking you to revise
Wait,
it.
loud, if you gotta do... Say,
I didn't really want you to revise it. I just had a question about that because as far as it went.
I think that game, you know, we were very happy with it. But I got to tell you, I haven't played that game in a long time. Is there one out here?
Yes.
Yeah, I should have found it. There's so many games though that I can't. I've been involved, touched a lot of games, and a lot of them I don't remember as well as some of these other guys. Zach Josh over here is nodding because he's the one who has to tell me what was on the game. We got, years and years ago, we got sued a number of times by Williams. They thought that my simulated ramp on Lethal Wet L'Arme Fatale Trois was too close to Terminator. Well, that's a simulated ramp, and they said, well, Terminator had a ramp here. I said, yeah, and we don't have a ramp here. Well, first of all, there's no protection on playfield layout. There is on artwork. But they sued us a number of times for stuff like that, and now I was going somewhere with it. I don't know what. Well, anyhow, there's no more lawsuits. We're done with that. Any other questions?
Godzilla locked down with Stern then?
What?
Godzilla.
There you go.
Locked down with Stern?
I've heard of that title.
Yeah. I mean, did you guys get the
I've heard of the title. Let me go back and tell you that these are some of the titles that we're going to make, and other titles that we are or are not going to make. I can, but I'm not going to comment on.
Okay, so Spooky Pinball did not get Godzilla then?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your interest, and I'm glad you liked the game.
I love it.
Great. Me too. Thank you. It was great for us. Yes, sir.
Your relationship with Farsight Studios and pushing forward with development of the Pinball Arcade, I kind of heard some stuff about having day-and-date digital format, like for the Switch titles and for PS4. What's the progress with that?
We are constantly looking at how best to do digital. Right now we have an arrangement with Farsight. Maybe it'll go on forever. Maybe we'll do it ourselves. Maybe we'll do something different. But right now our arrangement is with Farsight.
Any
Contractually, in fact.
Any tables coming up?
Yeah. Yeah, would you like to know which ones?
Why not?
Yeah, well, okay. Next question. Yes, sir.
It's still kind of hard as a collector to get Stern games if you don't know about the distributor model.
Say it louder in the mic so I can hear it.
So it's still kind of hard to get a Stern game if you don't know about the distributor model. Is there a way that you guys are ever going to sell direct?
We have no plan to sell pinball machines direct. We sell accessories both through our dealers and dealers and distributors but not games. Accessories and merch we do. And by the way, we distinguish between commercial distributors and B2B and retail dealers that are B2C. But we don't have any plan to sell. Will we ever do it? I doubt it, but we don't have any plan to do it. I won't say never, but I doubt it. I really think you need somebody. We're trying to grow. The operator is best served if three segments: operator, rec room buyer, enthusiast. Operator, enthusiast, collector. The operator is best served if he has somebody local that can do financing for him, trades, take care of his games, do some repairs if need be. At least a large, if it's an FEC chain, maybe it's not local, but they're doing the whole location. And FEC is a big upside for us. The rec room buyer needs to see the game, touch the game. Well, should I send a 50-year-old rec room buyer to a barcade with 22-year-old kids in it at 11 at night to see a game? No, I don't think so. I think we need showrooms in order to grow this. And the two big growth areas, you guys, there'll be more and more collectors enthusiasts, but the big side of the growth, I believe, and for your future also, is getting more and more games on the street with operators and getting that rec room buyer to be involved in it and want that game. So, those are big efforts that we have. Now, we talk about on the street, our business, I talked about being up 40%, being up 40%. Some of my friends who are in the video and redemption game business are up similarly. They don't have an enthusiast or home business, but they have an FEC business, the street business. And because of growth in out-of-home entertainment, FECs, family entertainment centers, and also because of the real estate market and so many big box stores being empty, being available to be made into FECs with parking lots and what have you. That is a growing thing. We need our Army to be in there. We need to show them that we're giving them new people with new money, and we're going to put seats in their stools. So we don't have any plan to sell direct. You guys almost take care of yourselves, but the other two legs need a lot of care. Any other questions, folks? That was
Code updates, they coming?
lots of code updates coming. We just did 2 yesterday, I think it was. Was it yesterday? What day is this? Must have been Thursday. We try not to do them on Friday in case something blows up. There's nobody around to talk to. No, seriously. We're Tuesdays, Mondays. We're too disorganized. No, that's not true, but we're just not ready. So we try and do Tuesdays or Thursdays. I think we did Batman and something else this week. Pardon? Star Wars and Guardians. Batman was last week? It was this week. We did 3 code updates. So are there more code updates? Yes. Okay. And we're filling in some blanks. We're fixing some bugs. We're changing some things for different countries all the time. And then we say, okay, we like it now. Sometimes it's what you guys like. Sometimes you think the designer should have thought of something else, but it wasn't what he wanted to do. And if it's not what he wants to do, if it wasn't his vision, he may say, I'm sticking with my vision, or he may make some modification to it. But the designers, have a vision of what they're doing. Anything else, folks?
Through all the years that you've been in it, is there anything that, on the play field, that just blew you away that you thought this is definitely going to be a game changer, whether it's something Stern did or another company?
You know, it's a number of things happened over the years that changed the style. We used to make, I showed pinball here. We made it, we made a number of games in those days, electromechanically and solid state. Same game, both had chime units in it, you know, little plastic box with metal plates on it. Both had the same rules, solid state and electromechanical. Gas discharge versus drum unit was the only visible or play difference between them. Studebaker in 1953, Raymond Loewy designed the two-door Studebaker, a very low, sleek car. Studebaker executives said, cool, but we sell four-door family cars, so we'll be 75% four doors and 25% is really sleek, cool car. Unfortunately, the market wanted it the other way. 75% of the customers wanted the two-door, and they weren't geared up to do that. Well, likewise, we knew operators didn't want solid state. They didn't know what it was. They could fix electromechanical. So we figured, we being the entire industry, that we'd be doing more electromechanical and solid state would come slow. The solid state games made more money. Same rules, same reaction, same voltage to the coils, because they had a gas discharge display instead of a drum unit. They looked modern. We've seen displays go numeric, alphanumeric, and so forth. The dot matrix, before all that, ramps on Space Shuttle revolutionized. Everything else became old looking, you know. There are a few games, Silver Slugger or whatever, that, you know, were able to be made without ramps that worked, you know, one off, one at a time, that Gottlieb game, but the next ones didn't work. They called that whole phase of games, they had a name for it, I forgot. No, they had another name for it than that, I think. Any event, that was revolutionary. The gas discharge display was revolutionary, or the numeric. Gottlieb didn't have a gas discharge. They had the Rockwell blue display, and it actually didn't work out very well. The rest of us were gas discharge. Dot matrix display. We started it on Checkpoint, the smaller one. We went to a great big one. We all seemed to come down to one size, the 32 by 128. And that made everything else look obsolete. And then, well, now we've got what we think is the right size LCD, and that makes everything else look obsolete. But, boy, it is difficult. I just changed the word for you. I changed the word for you. It is difficult because you're not designing a video game, but you're designing the video of a video game, and you're tying it to the effect on the playfield. In effect, instead of having a joystick and button, you've got targets and ramps that are making things happen on it, and it's reacting back to you. But it's a big change. Now, we like our size display because we think pinball, first of all, the game's on the playfield. We don't want to spend all our money up here. We can do better graphics in that size than a different size, and we want a backglass. George and I in particular like backglass art. George Gomez and I like in particular. That it, folks? Have I got everybody? One more back there.
Are you going to do anything where users can edit or change things, such as like the P3, how they can write their own games? Like, are you going to do anything where you can modify it in any way?
We sell accessories to add to trick your game out. Think of Harley again. We're going to sell accessories to trick it out, but no, we make a game. We don't make convertible games or changeable games or pieces in them. We believe that that's the proper way for the game to be. We like the games we make. And if we didn't like it, if I didn't like it, we wouldn't make it. There you go. I think that's it. Nobody else? I think I've done it all, so I thank you all very much. Thanks for coming, thanks for your attention, especially after this long day today. And congratulations to Keith, who's not here, but I'm just thrilled for him and for us.